guys. Welcome to week 2 of our look at the Sermon on the Mount. Over the next few months, we are going to be taking a deeper look at what Jesus has to say to us about his upside down kingdom in this giant sermon, his biggest sermon that we have recorded in the Bible. Last week, we heard about the beatitudes, the blessings of God, the good news of his kingdom versus what our culture would consider #blessed. We saw that Jesus brought his good news, the gospel, to people who were hurting and who were struggling, who just couldn't get themselves better enough to achieve the success and the happiness that the world offers if they just work a little harder, just be a little bit better. Jesus instead brought hope and the free gift of grace. And that gift was actually the blessing of Jesus himself, the only one who ever did or ever could live out the beatitudes that we learned about. So in the end, it's Jesus himself who is the blessing and true happiness in this life. In the past, to the people he was speaking with before, true happiness and satisfaction only comes in Jesus. This week, we are going to see that the blessings of Jesus should actually have a positive effect on the world around us. So, let me ask you a question. Who or what is most influencing you? Seriously. Think about it for just a minute. Is it your family? Is it the music you listen to? The shows that you watch? The friends that you hang out with? Is it Jesus? If it's none of those, who or what is it? When I was growing up, it was definitely the music that I listened to, and I think that's still a bit true today. I was already into the chugging guitar and machine gun kick drum of heavy metal at this point. I just liked the way it sounded musically. But it was the lyrics of the songs and the bands that I was listening to that really began to affect me in a negative way. Yeah, I did grow up in a Christian home, but most of what I listened to was angry. It was angry at God, or angry at my parents, angry at the world, or in some cases, just full on evil. Not great stuff to put into me. There were bands like Cradle of Filth, and they had songs like Better to Reign in Hell, right? What was I even thinking? Of course things weren't going to turn out well for me. I wasn't putting anything good into me. Now, they weren't all that extreme, for sure, but very few of them had anything hopeful or even helpful to say. And over time, the lyrics and ideas burned themselves into my head and into my heart. So no matter how much loving upbringing my parents could give me, no matter how much Jesus they taught me about or showed me his love, there was no way to fight the effects of what I was feeding myself, surrounding myself with, and being influenced by. Just not a chance. Why am I telling you this story? What does this have to do with the Sermon on the Mount? Just hold on. We are going to come back to it. I do want to answer that question, but first we need to read our passage. So grab a Bible. We are looking at Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 to 16, and it's a passage entitled Salt and Light. It says this: "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Salt and light? What exactly is Jesus talking about? Short answer, influence. Specifically, how we influence our world with the hope and blessing of Jesus Christ. But how are we supposed to do that? Didn't we just spend last week talking about the fact that outside of Jesus, we're in need and we're not very blessed? We're the sick, we're those who are hurting that Jesus came to. Didn't Jesus bring the good news of his perfect kingdom to people who are sick and tired and emotionally broken or physically broken? People struggling at home with difficult family situations. Guys being picked on for being too small or nerdy or not fitting in. Girls who are rejected for not being pretty enough or cool enough or owning the right stuff. How are these kind of people, the us's of the world, supposed to influence the world around us? We've got nothing. That's why we need Jesus. But that's the key. Jesus. We don't have anything good in ourselves, naturally, in our flesh. And we share and we influence, not from that, but we share and influence what Jesus has given us. When people look at us in our schools and on our teams and they see those broken, kind of loser people that I just described, what they're supposed to see is people filled with hope and joy, not because they're perfect or they're Instagram beautiful or anything like that, but because they have the light of the world, because we have the light of the world. We have Jesus. But if we want to impact our own small sphere of the earth for Jesus, we need to be influenced by him too. We know that we are blessed by God, like we talked about last week, but more important, we also know that we are loved by him. So we get to respond to him. We get to respond to him publicly. We get to respond to him privately. We get a chance to let him influence us, and we get a chance then to influence others for him. So we don't just do and say Christian things. Jesus, as he influences us, makes us like him. And we are Christians. So we influence not out of what we do, but who Jesus has made us. He adds salt and he adds flavor to our lives. He makes light out of our darkness. And we all have some kind of darkness within us. Jesus influences us for his glory, for the good of others, and for our good as well. Jeremiah 29:11 says this, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." I need you guys to hear that. And not only that, I need to hear that too. There are still so many days when I feel hopeless and helpless, when I struggle with the different sins that face me personally, when I feel that I don't fit in at work, when I'm maybe not even good enough for all of you, when I think that I'm a failure to my family, to my wife. And in those moments, what I most need is to be seasoned and flavored and lit up by Jesus, by the good news of his kingdom come to someone who needs his blessing. I need to be in his word. I need to be listening to music that gives him glory and lifts me up towards him. I need to be with friends and people who love the Lord and can encourage me to do the same. And I need to be in prayer and talking with him on a regular basis. And as I do that, as we do that, Jesus is going to put more and more and more of himself into us. And then we won't be able to help but share with the world around us in our actions and in our lives and in our words, because we have a future and a hope, like Jeremiah said in that passage I just read. Galatians 2:20 also says this, "I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me." And who is Jesus? Who is this future and hope who lives inside of us? He's the light that we're talking about here. Salt and the light. John 8:12 says this. This is Jesus speaking. I am the light of the world. So, if Jesus is the light of the world, and then in our passage he says that you are also the light of the world, what he's saying is, share me. Share the light of the world that I've put in you. I'm the light. Just let that show to the world around you. Share what I put into you. Don't just say that you love me. Don't just come to church on Sundays. Live differently because I have given you hope and joy and true blessedness and true happiness. Show your friends and your non-Christian family, your teachers, your coaches, that your life is different because of the influence that I have on you. The love that I've given you that never quits. Add salt, add flavor to their lives that's unlike everyone else they know, because you have the upside down kingdom that Jesus gave you. Influence. It matters. Is Jesus your biggest influencer? Or is it an influencer? Someone on TikTok, a movie star, an athlete, your family, a boyfriend, a girlfriend? And here's where we get back to where we started. The things and the people that influence us will be the things and the people that we influence others with. They're going to become what we are known for. Just like eventually I became known as angry and mean-spirited and a little bit evil at that point in my life, until I heard Jesus call, and he came and he changed me and he turned me around and made me kind of like this little weirdo that you see in front of you. Very different from what I was then. Just like the salt that loses its saltiness in verse 13. Eventually, if we let other things take our time and our attention and our love away from Jesus, those things will also affect and shape and mold and influence us. And eventually, they'll rule over us. And the light and the salt that we had in us will be no good. It'll be darkness and it will be impure and it won't have a positive or good effect on the world around us. Not the positive, good effect of Jesus anyway. What we are influenced by will be what we influence others with. So don't cover the light that's in you with something that can't bless or bring true happiness. Don't flavor yourself with inferior salt. Ask God to give you more of himself until you can't do anything but show him. Last week I pointed to a song that I loved and a band that I loved, and I think I'm going to make this a regular thing. So I was listening this morning on my drive to work to a band called Wolves at the Gate. They're a quote-unquote Christian band, but this has been a song that has been encouraging me and also reflects what we're talking about. It's called The Cure. And it says this is just a short line from that song. Filled with the remedy, I'm gaining clarity. Oh God, destroy what poisons me. That's a prayer that we can pray when we think about influence. God, take those things that are poisoning me, that aren't influencing me positively, so that I'm influencing the world for you, and destroy those. Fill me with you so that I'll share your salt and light. Are you flavored by Jesus? Is his light what shines through you? Are you his or are you someone else's? Is following Jesus something you do, or is it someone you are? A disciple, a follower, salt and light.